So we are in the process of currently hiring our Main Street Program Coordinator, and that job position closes on August 10th. So hopefully by the September meeting, we will have either a human on board or a human selected that will be taking over the direct liaison of these webinars, even though I'll be obviously deeply involved because it's a brand new program. I want to make sure it is as successful for all of our community partners as possible. I appreciate everybody attending today, and I'm not going to take any more limelight from the Office of Tourism. So I appreciate you all. There will be time at the end for questions, and I don't know how, Bianca, you like to run it, but usually if you have a question, you can drop it in the chat, the Q&A, or wait to the end and then raise your hand and ask some questions so our presenters can kind of get through their material in our hour allotted. So, and also a big thank you to Tracy Hansford from our sister division of Arts and Museums who are hosting these Zoom calls for us. I appreciate you, Tracy, wrangling the cats today. So without further ado, Bianca.
Great. Can everyone see my screen? We just did a check, but I just want to make sure.
We sure
Great.
can.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Thanks, Chris and Tracy. For those who don't know me, I'm Bianca Lyon. I'm the Director of Community and Partner Relations at the Utah Office of Tourism, and my colleague Selena Sinclair, our Partner Relations Lead, is joining me today, and together we're going to tag team our presentation that's intended to help just give an overview about what our office does, the major programs that we run, the staff that work here, so we can make more direct relationships with you all, or we can help you establish these connections with our office if necessary, and just help with the work that you're doing on Main Street. So with that, I'll just get started. Selena is joining me today, as I mentioned, but our colleague Flint Timmons is our Destination Development Lead, and he rounds out what we call the Destination and Partner Relations team under the Utah Office of Tourism, and the acronym that we lovingly use is DAPPER. And so the three of us are sort of the newest department within the Utah Office of Tourism that is really intentional and focused on executing various efforts in the partner relations and destination development space under our Red Emerald Strategic Plan. So it's helpful to always kind of give a vision mission statement just to help you understand and orient yourself to our priorities. Our vision is a state united and welcoming the world to experience soul awakening adventure. And our mission is to elevate life in Utah through responsible tourism stewardship. And that language was developed and created and is reflected in our Red Emerald Strategic Plan. And many of you have heard me or Vicki Varela, our managing director, or others in our office mention it. It's essentially the blueprint for our office and the priorities that our team has to execute on our marketing and various functions of our office. So the major four areas are kind of mentioned here. To continue our powerful branding, we're known for our marketing and the strength of our marketing. We're going to touch upon that a little bit later in our presentation. So that will continue to be a priority for us going forward. But the second is to prioritize quality of visitation and not just quantity of visitors. Quality visitation is a complicated thing to define, but ultimately, we want to bring people to Utah who are curious, who are thoughtful, who will spend a lot of time in a destination to fully appreciate it and understand it. And so those are the types of visitors that we are really focused on bringing back because oftentimes those are return visitors to Utah. The third is to distribute visitation. So that's not just, so that means, of course, seasonally, bringing people in the off season or the shoulder seasons. It also means time of day. So that's why, one of the reasons why our office is really focused on dark sky tourism, because it helps bring people to Utah at other times of day. And certainly other parts of the state who are ready to receive visitors. And then the fourth is to enable community-led visitor readiness, which is a mouthful, but that is a lot of what our team is really focused on specifically, is helping local communities develop the tourism economies that they want. It's always helpful to understand where our budget comes from, and the major source of funding for our office is the Tourism Marketing Performance Fund. We always call it TMPF. We're known for a lot of acronyms, as I'm sure you all are in your own worlds. So this is really where the majority of our marketing dollars come from. So that's the dark blue, the 70% here in this pie chart. But before the legislature gives us this money, 10% of that also goes towards the Utah Sports Commission, who many of you are familiar with, and attracting sporting events to the state. And then 20% of that money goes to our co-op marketing program. And you'll hear a little bit more from Selena later in this presentation about opportunities in the co-op marketing space. So typically we've been around 25 million. Last year, or this year, I should say, in the legislative session, we were at 22.8 million. So that's about roughly the budget that we work under. And so I get a chance to also just deep dive a little bit into what our team is doing. Again, we're the DAPPER team, Destination and Partner Relations. In the partner relations realm, we're really focused on developing industry resources, and we make those available on travel.utah.gov. You'll hear that website a lot throughout the presentation. We have a lot of great information that I encourage you all to check out, after this presentation's over. But one of the areas that we've really been focused on as a team is developing industry toolkits to help our tourism partners embrace certain aspects of tourism and help leverage the assets that they have in their communities around specific product types. And in the case of agritourism and dark skies, we've developed a lot of really great resources and would encourage you to check those out. We also kicked off a Red Emerald Resilience program with the Institute of Outdoor Recreation and Tourism at Utah State University. That was funded through Economic Development Administration funds that we received in 2020 that are intended to help create more resilient communities. And so they've helped us create a lot of really great programming that's available on their website. And perhaps Selena can maybe jump in the chat and let you know where you can sign up to participate in future sessions or go back and listen to old recordings, but it's a great resource. And then I would encourage all of you, if you're able to join us at the Utah Tourism Conference. It's September 27th through 30th in Vernal, Utah. And we have a lot of really great content that Selena has been helping us curate along with the Utah Tourism Industry Association, who partners with us on the conference. So if you go to UtahTourismConference.com, you can learn more and register, and we would love to see you there. In the partnership space, our office has been really active and engaged and reaching out to organizations that really help us expand our reach throughout the state, and particularly advancing our Forever Mighty Responsible Travel and Thoughtful Travel initiative. So we've been partnering with organizations like Tread Lightly and Leave No Trace. Our local destination marketing organizations throughout the state are, of course, critical partners in that effort, as well as state agencies. And certainly the State Historic Preservation Office is a critical partner, and then private businesses and land managers as well. Just to highlight a little bit about our Forever Mighty initiative. It's again our stewardship initiative that we're advancing here at the Office of Tourism, and really just intending to create the most thoughtful and responsible and prepared travelers we can to come to the state and really embrace all that our state has to offer. So you can see our ethics here. You can learn more at visitutah.com/forever to learn more about how we're inspiring that type of travel throughout Utah. And then the third component of our team is in the destination development space. Flint Timmons manages various programs to help communities develop their tourism economies. And this is, again, in partnership with the community and with various vendors. But we don't, our office does not come in and dictate how these plans should be created. It's definitely done in harmony with the community, in partnership with the community. And we offer one-to-one matching dollars for programs aimed at these various projects. We have a community assessment program where we partner with essentially a secret shopper for a community that will come in and essentially we call it ripping the Band-Aid, so to speak, to give local leaders honest feedback about various aspects of their destination and giving them some suggestions for how they might make improvements that will improve their visitors' experience. We also offer destination development strategy and action plans. We partner with an organization called Cooperative, based out of Portland, and they, along certainly with deep involvement of the community, create tourism strategic plans for their communities. And you can see the Carbon County example here. They were one of our pilot communities that we created a plan for. So it's a great program and really helps the community understand its next steps in creating the type of visitor economy that they desire. In a similar way with the strategy, we also have branding as well. We will help our local partners with their tourism branding. And in the case of Carbon, the Carbon Corridor, this was developed by our vendor. They're called Hub Ltd. And we work with Hub and with the local partner to develop branding for their marketing websites, things like that. And then we also do a lot in the experiential product development realm, mostly in the form of kind of giving some technical advice through our office to help you with, or help communities with their product development. We also, I alluded earlier to a grant that we received from the Economic Development Administration back in 2020 that funded some really important projects for our office. We then received a second grant from the EDA of $3.7 million. And this federal grant is, again, as the first one was, intended to increase the recovery and resilience of the tourism industry in Utah. And so through that program, we've developed a couple of different opportunities and projects that communities can take advantage of. And I think many of the folks on this call would be interested in. First is feasibility and economic impact studies for various types of tourism. If for instance, you're not sure what the economic impact is of bike tourism, a feasibility study could help you and your community better understand the value of that type of product and whether or not it's worth investing in the future. So those are the types of projects that we would fund under that bullet point. We'll do some product development studios, and this is geared towards product development, perhaps again in the agritourism space is a good example, bringing partners together to help them define and market whatever type of product that they're trying to create, and then giving them some structure and movement in that space. The third are implementation grants that will fund various implementation projects under any economic development plan. Certainly a Main Street plan would also be an eligible project. So many times we get these wonderful plans, but not always having the tools or the resources to execute on some of those ideas. And so these implementation grants will be aimed towards helping partners fund those types of projects. And then a certified community program where we will be creating a designation for communities to follow certain benchmarks in order to receive this certification, whether it be an arts and culture town or a bike town or a trails town. Those are the types of projects that we're considering, and it would give a really important marketing and branding opportunity for communities who are really looking to define themselves in a particular type of product. So that's a lot to cover. This is open to, again, to public and nonprofit organizations, and the application period begins on September 1st and closes on October 31st. But we will be receiving applications for the next several years because we have 5 years in which to spend this money. So I encourage you all to follow us on our industry newsletter to keep apprised, and we'll show you how to do that momentarily. And we will be offering a deeper dive on August 16th at 11 a.m. To do a little bit of a deeper dive on these programs. And so we'll make sure to share that invitation with the Main Street community so you can learn more and learn how you can get involved. Now, I think I'm going to turn the time over to Selena. I feel like I've been talking for a long time. So Selena, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, we're going to dive into a few other teams that are a part of the Utah Office of Tourism. You may have noticed that there's a little orange box on each slide that's providing contact information to our fellow colleagues that are responsible for the program or initiative within our office. So while previously you mainly just saw Flint, Bianca, and I's faces, we'll start sharing some additional colleagues that if you have any questions or are looking for additional information, they're going to be your best contact. So you can go ahead and move to the next slide, Bianca. So the main program that our marketing team is charged with is around establishing and promoting our brands and campaigns. Some of these you may be familiar with. Life Elevated is our statewide brand that was launched in 2006. The Greatest Snow on Earth is our ski and snow campaign that has been around since 1985. The Mighty Five was established in 2013 around our 5 national parks and creating one epic road tripping adventure. And then most recently, we launched Forever Mighty in 2020, which was what Bianca was referencing earlier around the Forever Mighty Ethics and Responsible Travel campaign. The number one question we get asked in presentations like this is around our data and research team, which falls under our marketing efforts. And their tourism industry metrics can be found on travel.utah.gov. These include everything from visitor profiles to tourism impacts. They dial down information to be county specific in their profiles. They provide hotel and lodging information around tax, tourism tax and average daily rate revenues. And so we also provide park visitation for state parks and national parks. What is international visitation looking like currently for the state? Most recently this year, we launched a project that we're really excited about, which is our resident sentiment survey series. This looks at resident sentiment overall for the state of Utah, as well as in key communities. And it's been really telling and really building foundational blocks on how we're focusing on the community-led tourism visions across the state. Next, we have our cooperative marketing program, which Bianca also referenced earlier in the presentation. It's probably our most well-known funding grant source because it's been around since 2005. It is a one-to-one matching funding program for UOT dollars matching local dollars. It's available to tourism-related public sector organizations and nonprofits. We're just wrapping up our funding for this year, and the awards will be announced during our board meeting, which is taking place on Friday, August 12th at the Land Cruiser Museum in Salt Lake City.
Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about our creative, what we call our creative and content team. This is our in-house creative team that are doing really incredible things in the storytelling space. So visitutah.com is our website, and I think we all kind of consider it sort of our hardest working marketing tool. We invest a lot of time and care into making sure that we're telling Utah's story in the most authentic way possible, and that's due to the great work that Rosie Sarago on our team has put into this website. We launched a new visitutah.com, I think it was about a year ago, Selena. And if you haven't seen it recently, I would certainly encourage you do so. We take great care into making sure that we're telling the local stories correctly, and certainly are always open to other input, and welcome you to check it out if you haven't been to our website recently. Social media is another really important tool for our office, as it is for everybody. Ariana Rees is our social media specialist, and she oversees all the content, both on the organic and paid side. We also have a social media firm, Sparkloft, that also helps us with our social media as well. And we work with ambassadors and influencers that are really focused on stewardship, thoughtful travel, and really making Utah a welcoming place for visitors of all kinds. So encourage you to, of course, follow us on social media as well. And then last but not least, we're very active in the public relations space. Anna Lockridge is our public relations manager and does a really great job working with national domestic publications to make sure that we're telling Utah's story in all the ways that advance our strategic plan. So you see some really nice examples here of how we're encouraging that thoughtful travel. Dark sky travel, of course, is a high priority for us. So you can see the Condé Nast Traveler cover as sort of a great example of that, and some of the great media markets that we work with outside of those examples. Again, with that focus on Forever Mighty and stewardship, and really making Utah a welcoming place for visitors of all kinds. And what was also not mentioned here, but worth bringing up to you all, is that we are very active in the local media relations space as well, making sure that we're reaching out to local outlets about the work that we're doing as an office, helping our partners throughout the state tell their stories to the local media as well. So that's another way in which we're sort of advancing the story in the public relations space.
Next, we have our global markets team, which is also known as our international team. So similar to what Bianca mentioned, we're doing in the content and creative space, we're also sharing these resources and assets and digital content out in our key international markets. This team is doing everything from securing international journalists who then come and write stories about Utah, to helping international tour operators develop new products for their itineraries to sell to visitors coming to our state. Bianca, if you could flip to the next slide. Our key markets are Canada, the UK, France, Germany, China, and Australia. We've just recently added a new primary market of India, and we're really excited to get into work in that market. And then we also work with secondary international markets as well, in cooperation with these that have similar ties. For example, our German rep works in Switzerland as well. Our UK rep works in Ireland. And so we're quite well spread throughout the key markets that are coming into Utah. Bianca mentioned earlier about our Red Emerald Resilience Program. I shared a link in the chat. We actually have a really great session about how our office and you can prepare for the return of international visitors. That was pre-recorded and now available online for you to watch back and learn a little bit more about what we're doing in the international space. Finally, we have our customer service team. And that team is charged with connecting potential and confirmed visitors to Utah. They're doing this via email, virtual chats on our website, over the phone, and with direct mailers. Our visitor guides and other physical information and resources are distributed throughout the state to welcome centers and our destination marketing organizations, as well as directly to our visitors as well. Finally, we'd love to stay connected with you all. The best way to do so is to sign up to our Office of Tourism Partner newsletter, which is this QR code you see here. If you scan it, it will take you to the sign up link. We use this to regularly communicate what's going on in our office, announcements of when grant funding opportunities are open, when changes are occurring, when there's anything going on. We're sharing it out through this resource. So we'd love to get you all connected so you can stay in touch and know what's going on. And that is the end of our presentation.
Happy to answer any questions or go back and chat about anything else that we may have mentioned earlier in the presentation. It was a lot to cover, so understandably, if you need to raise your hand, feel free to do so.
Bianca, you've got a question in the chat asking for a link instead of that QR code. Oh, sorry, this came straight to me. Could you all drop a link in the chat for everyone?
Yeah, give me 1 second and I will drop that link.
Marvelous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and so thank you, Bianca and Selena, for that overview. So, so you can drop questions in the chat if you're shy. If you aren't shy and want to unmute and ask a question, please go ahead and do that now.
Sure, I will.
Go for it, sir.
So I'm Quinn with Downtown Provo. We're the business alliance in Downtown Provo, and I've been the director here for 7 years now. But I have zero education, history, and context. I don't even know most of what your program is or what any of this money means. I've never been really affiliated with state government or any tax dollars. We just fundraise from the local business community, and then we've convinced the city to match the money that we raise. and we run all of our local programs. All of this sounds like wonderful opportunities for us, and I just have no clue where to start. I wondered if you have a contact person that you would suggest I begin there. I just have no idea because we are a small, scrappy program.
We understand because we're a small, scrappy team. So we totally understand. I mean, essentially, that's what our team is intended to, was really kind of created to do, is to help folks like you, Quinn, make those connections, understand the programs that we're offering, the ones that we're bringing online as well, and see if there's a fit, and if not, giving you the best information possible. So I would just say, reach out to myself or Selena. Selena is very involved in the co-op program. And so, if you have questions about that specifically, she's a great resource, or can get you any information that you need. But I would just say our team is here to really help you make those connections. So we'll make sure to leave both of our email addresses in the chat, and then we would encourage you to just reach out to us and let us know what you need.
I'll add as well that we work really closely with Explore Utah Valley, Lee Adamson and Charlene Christensen. We're communicating with them on a regular basis about what's going on. They're opting into a lot of our funding opportunities as well. So it'd be great to get them in the conversation and see where we can elevate their work and include you.
I will say, Quinn, we've been meaning to, I've been really excited to do a little bit of a familiarization with their team. I think we're trying to get it planned. We've been trying to get it planned all summer and people are busy, but that is one thing that our team tries to do ourselves, the three of us, myself, Selena, and Flint, and then our larger team. I think we really want to try to get more involved in communities as a group, because we know how important that is when we get out into communities and really experience them and understand them. So just so it would be great to get your involvement in that too, when that comes together, which hopefully it will, because you have a lot of great things going on, and particularly the work you're doing is so great, and downtown Provo is such a cool little place. So we'd love to keep you connected into those opportunities. Again, as Selena said, we work really closely with our tourism partners to make sure that those DMOs are certainly involved. So we would love to have that relationship with you and get you tied in.
Yeah, and just to throw this out there, probably, I don't know if I could just be the only one in the state that has these feelings, but my big fear with all of these like opportunities is when I look at programs like Explore Utah Valley, their budget is 15 times bigger than mine. And but when we look at what we accomplish annually, we're really similar, because all the money that they get has so many strings attached that they have to hire all these additional people to do the reports and to file grant applications and to do all these things. And it's been interesting to compare our program to other programs and to see how much work it is to get certain funding to where we're not getting any more done. We're just spending way more money. And so that's part of my apprehension historically, is we've essentially never applied for any funding anywhere ever, because I don't have anyone that can do that.
Yeah, and it is an intensive process to apply for our cooperative marketing program. I will be honest with you, it does require a little bit of research and the data pulling of some of those metrics like we talked about, specifically around your county in particular, around what does occupancy look like and such, but we try and provide the resources so that we can help you along the way. In regards to that program, it does have a cap for how much a single applicant can apply for, which varies year to year, but we fund across the board. I'm actually really proud of the way that our program works with nonprofits and smaller communities and destinations that are getting started or aren't the Salt Lakes or the larger destinations of our state. And we do fund across the board, and we don't put in a minimum of you have to apply with X amount of dollars in order to receive funding from us. So there's definitely some opportunities there that we can work with you through if and when you're interested.
Yeah, just to throw in a pitch, sorry to beat you over the head with information, but Selena and Kelly Day, who's been managing the program for many years now, goes out of their way to spend time with, possible applicants to make sure that they're prepared, that they're thinking about the right things, that they're getting the right information together. And then I will say that we have a committee of our board is who ultimately makes those recommendations to our larger board. They're also very helpful. They really want to create the greatest amount of good with this money. And so just to echo what Selena said, we're here as a resource to you, even though it's daunting. Don't be shy. We're here to help.
This is Brian from Payson. Kind of going along that same lines. It seems like there's lots of grants opportunities, and sometimes we see them, sometimes we don't. Is there a way to have a calendar? Here's all the different grants. Here's when they start. Here's when they're due. So it's easy to look at and see all the opportunities instead of trying to hit and pick and here and there and miss some. And
go ahead, Selena.
It doesn't exist currently is what I'll tell you, but our grant opportunities have actually grown. Tried and True program was our co-op program for many years. And so it was really easy for us to say, this starts in May and is announced in August of each year. That's the only one you have to remember from us. But you're right, there is a lot happening and we're getting a lot more funding, whether it's coming from federal dollars or additional state opportunities. And so I think we can definitely look at ways that we can be a little bit more clear and in our timelines in the calendar year of how funding works for our office.
just which ones are available. I mean, the one you just talked about you're doing on Friday, I didn't even know about that one. So you just miss them.
Yeah, that would be a great reason to follow us on our newsletter because you'll be getting, as soon as that application period opens for any of our programs, we always do an industry email push. So I think following us on our newsletter is probably the best way to stay informed in a timely way. And again, making those personal connections with us, we can always, have that personal touch and letting you know, like, hey, just to let you know, we're close to opening up the co-op program, so having relationships with our office and our team is helpful, but I think our newsletter is a great way to stay up to date.
Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Cody Hill from Midvale City. We are in the process of revitalizing and rebranding our main street, but we're not really looking towards capturing an audience outside of Utah. We're mostly looking to attract really residents from within Salt Lake County, Utah County, Davis County, kind of more regional tourism. I'm not sure how we fit in at this point. So if you could kind of bounce ideas off me on that one, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So traditionally our office has focused on out of state for a lot of years. That's been our main purpose, our main charge, where we've directed our dollars was those visitors that are out of state coming into Utah. And 2020 and the COVID pandemic really shifted this for us, I would say, because it made us refocus inward when we didn't have strong visitation coming in from out of state and how we could still support our local communities by focusing on different visitors from regionality coming in and still participating and still spending their dollars in the communities that needed it. And so we've adapted quite a few of our programs to now focus and provide opportunities that you could take it and market dollars for those in-state visitors in whatever region makes the most sense for you all, whether it's Wasatch Front or otherwise. And so, for example, our co-op program, which we've been talking a lot about, does allow for you to take in-state money and put it towards those kinds of efforts and bringing those visitors into your community.
And then I'll just go ahead and read the chat from Roger Roper for everybody's sakes. In terms of assembling a list of available grants from various agencies, organizations, the State Main Street Program and its new coordinator could help pull that together, I would think. Absolutely, because I'm thinking outdoor recreation grants have opportunities to overlay with tourism grants, with Main Street grants, with CLG grants. And so, yeah, creating a clearinghouse of community grants and categories is definitely something that we're interested in doing. And our new website can now absorb those different links. And that's why we have all our great partners to tell us all these fun things we're finding. So thank you, Roger, for that.
I'll go ahead I'm pointing to the Rural Coordinating Council, and I'm trying to pull the link for y'all. But the Rural Coordinating Council has a huge inventory of many resources available, not just for rural communities. So that's a really great place to start because it does list grants, but also many other programs. So I'll pull that link.
The other thing I'll say too is we've talked a lot about grants, which I understand requires that dollar-to-dollar match, but there are a lot of the programs that we've been talking about today in our presentation that don't require a financial buy-in in order to have your participation in. VisitUtah.com is a great example of we are constantly trying to update our digital content and make sure that it's accurate, make sure that we're representing your destinations correctly. And so we need your help in order to make sure that we are doing so. Our public relations efforts, our public relations manager is constantly looking for story pitches and leads that she can provide to journalists of events that are happening in your communities, activities, new things, new products. And so these don't have a dollar value associated with them. We just need you guys to keep us in the know.
And there's always creative opportunities too for matching, as if there's a federal grant that's received, sometimes state grants can be the match. And so the community might be able to match without coming out of pocket. We've talked a lot about that with some of our local government grants and tourism grants, or even arts grants sometimes can match some of our preservation grants. So there's creative things you can do.
Yeah, I think that's true. And then I mentioned earlier the new programs were coming online with our Economic Development Administration funds. The implementation grants in particular, I think would be, I think many of these programs are certainly relevant to this audience, but I think that the implementation grants are a really cool opportunity for, you know, all the folks on this call who have economic development plans or Main Street plans that need support in helping, you know, fund projects. And those won't require any match at all. It'll just be a sort of a competitive application process, but we want to make it as seamless as possible. So again, you know, August 16th, we'll have a webinar that Flint Timmons on our team is going to lead, and I'll encourage all of you to attend. I'll make sure to share the link and information with you, Chris, so that you can share it with everybody.
Happy to do it. Well, we've had some great comments and discussions, and people are getting warmed up. Come on, let's give them some hard ones.
I was going to give a shout out to Jared because he and his amazing community hosted us last year, and we had this great tour. Jared just did a great job of helping us better understand his community. I mean, those are the types of opportunities that we want to take advantage of too. Perhaps when, you know, when we have these site tours with the Main Street program team, but also just independent of that, we would love to get to know your communities a little bit better. And as Selena said, that helps us tell your story better, helps make those connections between our team and the work you're doing. So that's just a great example of making, you know, those personal connections really do pay off. So
yeah, thank you, Bianca. And I think, you know, kudos to you guys too. We were able, I think the county, well, it was a county application for some of the destination development grant program, right? I know they've been able to submit some there. I'm not sure exactly what our status is on that, but I think it's in process and things are moving. So anyways, I think it's really great. And I'm excited. We're looking to do a Main Street downtown master plan, and our funding is tight. You know, we have we're thinking of using some of our CLG funds for that, right? But also, you know, if we could pair it with some of your funding from that, was it an EDA, the one that opens on September 1st, right? That you're going to do the webinar about. That might be a really good fit. I'm interested to learn more about that. So thank you for providing some of these resources.
I will do a plug as well around that EDA funding. So the webinar will be happening in August, but we'll also have a session specifically at our Utah Tourism Conference in Vernal, Utah this September, where Flint, Bianca, and myself will just be workshopping with the participants through their EDA applications. So we'll be talking through your plans, helping you enhance them, making sure that you've got all the assets needed for it. So that's going to be a really great hands-on workshop while the application is open, to have time with us directly during our conference to talk through and make sure that you're ready to hit that submit button.
I might have missed it. What was the maximum amount on that EDA grant?
For the implementation grants?
Just not, yeah, the implementation, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I don't think that I provided that, Brian. It's $25,000 max.
Okay.
I had a question. Probably like a lot of people on this call, working. My name's Matt Starley. I'm with the MSD, and I'm here kind of on behalf of Magna. Right now, we're working on a district plan in various stages of development for their historic district. Would you suggest, since we are pretty early on, is it a good strategy to identify a number of grants that you think you might be interested in and tailor the plan or maybe some section directly to those grants within a district plan? Or would you think that maybe, like a general overview and then finding what fits would be a better strategy? I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
That's a good question. And I wish that Flint were here to maybe answer that a little bit better. I would recommend, if you can, Matt, to join the webinar, and if you can come to the tourism conference, even better. But I think that webinar would be a good place to start and start to kind of think about those questions, because we want again this funding to do the best good for the most amount of people, or the greatest amount of communities. And so I would recommend joining us on the 16th to get a deeper dive and then see from there where you're most inspired and how you think those connections will be, best made.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
I have a question, since this is kind of a Main Street group. What can we do as a Main Street people to help get more funding from the legislature for the Main Street program?
Well, I'll field it on behalf of the Main Street program. Talk to your local representatives. Talk to your local senators and highlight the good things that you are doing in your community. We're not asking for money ourselves. And so, as everyone knows, as a state agency, I can't ask for anything unless it's in the governor's budget. And where it was our first year of the program, we're kind of just sailing this year just to get our hands underneath us. But as a community, I would be saying you should be taking your local senators or House of Representatives on your Main Street and talking about the program and its value. There are opportunities for you to help as things go into the session too. There's going to be things that are going to pop up that might be of use. Like last year, we had a couple of Main Street communities show up for a hearing talking about some potential changes to the historic tax credit, both getting rid of our state residential one, but also a potential new commercial one. So there's opportunities for local communities to say things that I can't say. And funding is one of those things that if you feel that you want more resources and that you think you can do more with it, let's have those conversations. But I think it's really important to the longevity of this program, though, to make allies in the legislative branch, even if we're not asking for something, but just to make sure that they know that the program is working well. And I'm sure all of the programs over at Tourism can have those same advocates of like the legislature knowing that these programs are effective. So Brian, that's not a clear answer, but I think engaging with your local representatives is really important and showing the highlights of the success.
This isn't exactly answering your question, Brian, but I would also say just connection to your local destination marketing organization is also really going to help you, because they can, but reflect, what you're working on, really celebrate it with the work that they're doing to promote your local area. So I think those connections are also really valuable. It's not quite in the same way and not really advancing any state legislative priorities or funding, but I think that connection is really important. And any way we can remind our local DMOs of the great work that the Main Street communities are doing, I think is for the better.
If I could ask a question, this is Mayor Hart from Ivan City. How are you all? Our city is emerging as a resort destination. As you may or may not be aware, we're the location where Tuacahn is, we're the gateway to Snow Canyon. And our big problem down here is that the parks have become so heavily used that trying to find alternate places or things or activities for folks to do is a real challenge. And we've just successfully gone through the process, an RNPP process, and obtained a significant piece of BLM land, the majority of which is going to go into a regional park, kind of the adventure park flavor, if that term means anything to you. That they're really quite popular worldwide, and we really don't have much in the way of those. But our hope is to develop that in such a way that it becomes one of those places that would either cause a visitor to stay an extra day and come and enjoy that and whatever, but they're very, very expensive. And a city of 9,000, it's pretty tough to budget or even think in those terms. But locally, we have two major, well, actually three now, major resort developments that are occurring within our city. Black Desert's well underway, Sentier is finally getting going. So we're going to have a lot of folks right here in our own town to try and deal with. Is that type of a project something that I mean, it seems like it fits with what your organization does. And how would I initiate the process of determining, what sort of help is available and how to acquire it?
Yeah, we the majority of our projects are either focused in the marketing realm or in the sort of destination development and management realm, as we kind of mentioned earlier. But I imagine you're probably working really closely with the Office of Outdoor Recreation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are the ones that that give resources for outdoor recreation projects, and I imagine a regional park would be an eligible project. They're definitely the ones that work on the infrastructure side of things. But I still think that there might be some way we can support you in other ways with some of our destination development stuff, or even just giving some insight into, the work that we're doing and how it might help you or benefit you. Selena, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we are kind of restricted in our statute around marketing, specifically for the funding resources that we receive from the legislature each year. So we do rely really heavily on that outdoor recreation partnership in order to find, infrastructure funding in that outdoor recreation space. I also know that the Greater Zion Tourism Office is also kind of looking at their model and expanding their program opportunities as well. So I think they're a good opportunity locally.
Mm-hmm.
We'll extend our tin cup their way. Thank you.
But I think it's inspiring what you're doing. And we want to help, once, those amenities are available or, close to being available, certainly let us know, because that's where our storytelling and our marketing can come into play. Again, to your point, that extending the stay in your community and finding those opportunities outside of parks, outside of national parks, to help people have a really great experience. I mean, that is definitely Red Emerald strategic plan in that zone. And so we want to help you in the storytelling space, to making sure that visitors understand that. And as they're planning their trips, they say, I'm going to stay an extra night in Ivans because they have this really cool regional park and they have dark skies and they have all this stuff. That's exactly the type of visitor that we want to try to attract more of.
Thank you. If you'll forgive me, I have to sign off and get to a meeting at City Hall in 10 minutes. So thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, Mayor. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, we have about 9 minutes left in the hour. So if there are more questions, please keep peppering. But I don't know, Bianca or Selena, if you had any final thoughts, that you want to share before we start letting people adjourn for the lunch hour.
Just another plug to join us with the tourism conference if you can. I mean, it's fun. Tourism is fun. You should hang out with us. We have a good time. There's a lot of really great content, and Selena has been really working hard with our industry partner to making that content really valuable. And I think, the session on our EDA programs will be of interest, but I think there's a lot of really great content that you'll all find really interesting. So I guess I would just put it in a little plug to join us. And we have destination discovery activities in advance of the conference that helps you kind of experience the Vernal area. I was just there with my family a few weeks ago, and I had such a great time. It is such a cool place. Join us, take the time, get to know our industry a little better, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Okay, thank you, Bianca, and thank you, Selena, for today's webinar. I think if there's no burning questions, we will let everybody have a couple extra minutes of their morning back. But again, thank you too, and please follow up with them if you have questions. We are still in flux for our September topic. We've had to push our proposed topic into October. So I will be finding our next webinar topic and working with the advisory committee to get that out to you all. We will try to make it exciting. I don't know what yet, but we will make it exciting. So, thank you all for your attention this morning. And I love working with you all and learning every weird other thing that happens in this state. So I appreciate your guys' time today. So everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, everyone.